during discussion, direct items over accessory dwelling units. Eric asked if there was a way to not have them be short-term rental, and Mr. Ferrara said that there was a way in the standards to say that the ADUs cannot be STRs. Did he provide the location in the Minturn Municipal Code as to where it says that?
No, it doesn't say.
It doesn't say
currently.
that. We can put it into the code.
Oh, it's not in there now,
No,
but we can put it in.
that's what
It's
was being talked about.
It's allowed, he's making sure it's allowed.
Oh,
So
okay.
that we can, if we allow for use by right ADUs, that we can make those so that perhaps employees can rent them.
Okay.
I did have a comment on that as well, just because I read it and I wasn't here. My comment on that is basically anybody that has a current legal short-term ADU rental, I would think that they obviously get to keep that. But I also think on two other notes is that I think that we made a mistake when we took away the 2-year waiting period for people that owned property and they had to wait 2 years before they could short-term rent it. I think people got housing for at least 2 years, and I think that we should think about putting that back.
Okay.
Hold on. Minutes.
Minutes. Do you have any corrections to the minutes, not opinions on the minutes?
I'm sorry, I'll talk at number 9.
Anybody have any
Sorry.
corrections to the minutes?
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Okay. No, there was no corrections. I was just confused on,
Okay, so you have no corrections, Amanda. You have
No
no
corrections for
corrections.
me.
You have
No.
no corrections. I have no corrections. Michael was not here at the
I have
time.
no corrections, that's for sure.
Eric, do you have any corrections?
no, I don't.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
I do have one minor one, but it's very minor.
Hmm.
Up there on the top of the page, it says discussion ensues about building height in MU3. Jeff A. is supportive. Is that correct?
I am.
You are supportive?
But he says in MU1.
No, so it's double supportive.
I'm
It's supportive,
supportive of
it's
35 feet in MU1.
You're not supportive of, is supportive. I think we have too many supportives.
Yeah, I would agree with Daryl.
Alright,
Grammar.
That's all. It's just a minor
Doubly
one.
supportive.
you're doubly.
Doubly
That's just the
supportive.
rap version.
Huh?
That's just the rap version. Supportive, supportive.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
supportive. Okay.
That means 70 feet.
Okay. Okay.
I'm getting a headache already.
It's early, Lynn. It's really early.
I know. Sorry, Jenny. So with that, may I have a motion on the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 13th, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anybody have a declaration of conflict of interest this evening?
No.
No.
Public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to say anything? Open to public comment. Nobody there. Madison online.
No.
Nobody online. Closed public comment. Special presentations. We have none. Design review and land use public hearings.
We have none.
We have none.
None. Okay. Everybody read what was in the packet
Yes.
and understands. Okay. Just some comment back, please.
You're stretching it by saying understanding.
Yes, the minor changes, yes.
Yes. Discussion, direction items.
I have something on number 9.
Number nine.
Let me repeat myself.
Minturn Forward Land Use Code Update, Article 3 Use Standards.
Am I allowed to talk now?
Hi.
Am I allowed to talk now?
Is Matt coming in tonight?
Matt is here, yes.
Matt is here. Okay, Matt, are you there?
I'm
Matt,
here. Yep, I'm here.
okay. Now, let's go back just a little. Michael's going to talk because he was not here for the past 2 meetings. He was having to do some personal things. So he would like to state some comments. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, so what I just said earlier, as far as ADUs, I think any that actually are currently licensed stay. If we're considering anything different, that the existing are grandfathered in. And then I think that we should go back to the 2-year waiting period, prior to getting a license. As far as someone buying a property, they wait 2 years before they can short term it. And then I think we need to figure out if we have any other, basically what our reaction is gonna be as far as if there's accessory dwelling units that aren't currently on the books that turn up after we change our code. I'll just get it all out right here. And then, second thing is, at some point, I know if we have or we have not, I just want to talk about growth and parking. I think that current businesses will grow, with growth on the books that we currently have, Minturn North, Belden Place, Jeff Stuff, Malloy Park, everything that's coming. There will be more people, more demand for services. That going to the reason that I saw this is going to the town of Frisco and going to Eagle. Those are cute little towns. They have wider streets, but they also have parking time limits that from like 12 to 6, for example. In Frisco, you can't park on Main Street. Eagle's got like 2 to 6, something like
Is
that.
that at nighttime or daytime?
That's in the late at night to the
It's
morning.
morning.
We,
Okay.
we all remember back in the 90s when there was no parking on Main Street and everybody survived, even Frank's car survived. So I think that whenever we talk about this again or whatever, I think that we should definitely not incentivize reducing parking. And then I also have one more thing that we've already been through, which I apologize, but this is the last thing I have right now, Scott. For Scott. It's for you,
Keep
Scott.
smiling, Scott.
It's for you.
He's trying.
I also definitely, at some point, we need to go over and decide exactly how building height is measured for the future. Because it was overhangs never counted in the past. We used the same picture. I know Scott's told me that it has been, there's been an ordinance passed to change it to count overhangs. When we discuss it again, I definitely would like to see when we changed it, because I understand at this point, and if we changed it, great, but I understand at this point that we are counting half the overhangs and this and that. And that being said, we want to clarify this specifically. So the whole new code is to eliminate gray areas. And for example, you can definitely fit a 3rd floor in under 28 feet, because if you count the overhang and split it in half, my house, there was all kinds of requirements when it was built. There was no variances, and that would put my house at 27'1". And I can promise you that I got high ceilings in my 3rd floor. So I think that we definitely need, and maybe it's a joint session with council, and if we did change it, great, but the whole purpose, as we've been told since the beginning of this, was to eliminate gray areas. And I believe that that's a complete gray area. Maybe people that currently have stuff on the books will benefit from that. But in turn, you can definitely fit, if that's the case, whatever the max that we're counting is from the overhang, which we might already have specified if we actually did change it. I just want to make sure if we changed it, we changed it, and it's not being interpreted that way. And Scott, you said that 8 years ago, we passed an ordinance that changed it. So when we talk about this in the future, just for clarity, I'd like to see the ordinance, and probably everybody, you can give everybody a copy. And so that's all I got right now.
So, Michael, I don't recall telling you that there was an ordinance 8 years ago. Maybe Madison has mentioned that. What we did tell you, perhaps, is that as long as I've been here, and I think even before I came, this has been interpreted to the midpoint of the roof, including the overhangs. So all of what you just said are things that we're not talking about tonight. I appreciate it, but we're going to get to those when we talk about development standards and when we get to definitions and clarifying our definitions and how you calculate building height, for instance, and the illustrations that go along with it. Happy to talk about those things.
No, I appreciate it. I think that, you know, you are correct that you might have said that that's the way that it's been interpreted since you've been here. And I know in the past with multiple height calculations on different properties that that was not the case. So when we get to that point, that's important to me.
Understood. You've made us aware of that 10 times now.
Can we make sure that we have Michael at that meeting, please?
Don't look so discouraged, Scott.
Oh, hold on. Okay,
In reference to what Mike was just saying, he first said about the STRs and the 2-year waiting time. Will we be addressing that in the future?
No, we don't.
No.
Y'all don't have any control over Chapter 7. And I would like to point out that the 2-year waiting period was only nixed for the people who live on the property while they're short-term renting. It's if they rent, I think, 33% of their house or less. So if you want to rent the whole property, you still have to own it for 2 years.
And how is that being enforced?
I don't know. I don't think anybody's proposed to actually do it yet.
so that's in chapter 7,
Yes, business
doing it.
licenses.
so you could
Y'all
look that up.
Yeah, y'all don't handle.
People are actually doing it. They're not living there. Never mind. This is a whole nother topic. Sorry. I will, but
Okay, but what I'm saying to Michael is Madison says it's chapter 7, so he can refer to what's been
Yeah.
changed.
I'm asking him, yeah, I'll ask him about it later on.
Which means take it up with the council.
Right, because they're the one, I was at that meeting when they came down.
So that's council, not us.
That's right, at this point, yes. Okay, anybody else have anything? No. Okay. Matt, it's your turn. Please.
All right. So what we have for you guys tonight are some additional use standards that we hadn't had a chance to finish crafting for the last meeting when you first took a look at the new article that will address all of the town's zoning regulations. And so what we did is rather than provide you with another kind of revised draft of that article, we just in this memo provided the draft standards for different types of uses that we said we would provide you with. There are still I think 3 or 4 uses that we're still working on crafting standards for, and those include, just a second, adult uses, group homes, parklets, and wireless communication facilities. So our hope is by your next meeting we'll have a kind of a full draft of the zoning regulation article for you all to look at that will include those standards, any changes that are recommended to the standards that we talked about at the last meeting and then at this meeting. And then there will also be in that draft article an initial draft of the use table, which will be the big table that says where different types of uses are allowed in Minturn based on the zone district, and then also the dimensional standards table. And so that'll be an opportunity once we get into dimensional standards to have a bit of a discussion about how building height is measured and things like that. But this evening, kind of our hope is to focus on these draft standards that are outlined in the memo. And that's really kind of all we have for you this evening.
I have some questions.
Okay, hold on one sec.
Okay.
How do you guys want to do this, item by item, or do you just want to come up with what your considerations are?
I would rather not go item by item.
Okay,
Maybe by section to section?
Well, that's what I'm referring to. Do you want to do animal hospital? Do you want to do geothermal? Do you want to do hydroelectric? Or do you want to just address those concerns you have? I think that's going to be easier because there isn't that much.
No, there's not that.
Okay. So, Eric, do you have anything? We'll start at this end of the table
So
tonight.
we're starting with just animal hospital first?
No, we're starting with any concerns on the presentation tonight.
All of this.
Yes.
All of it.
Shit.
I know. Do you want to?
I can start.
You can start. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did not have any questions on animal hospital, boarding of animals, outdoor animal run. No question on geothermal loop, design your hydroelectric energy device. The first question I've had comes down when it's about keeping a fowl. We call out underneath where permitted, and this is on page 11 of our packet. We call out specifically parcels must be a minimum of 2,500 square feet in size. And I didn't really see that same consistency like with the animals or any of the other components of this, like of what we were looking through. So I wanted to understand from staff, like why are we putting a restriction on fowl, but we haven't on animal runs or anything else? Like why did we insert that there? It just seems like it's misplaced. Like, the law is the law.
But I think that this is directly from our existing foul regulations.
It is.
That was my question. Is this
Yeah.
our current?
I don't.
Yeah, this is verbatim what's in the code today. And we at the staff level didn't make any changes because I think there was a fair amount of effort that went into what's in the code today. I will note one thing I called out as a concern that I think, based on my limited experience with keeping of chickens and things like that, is the allowance for roosters. Most communities I'm familiar with do not allow roosters because they can become a nuisance for neighbors. But
And that was my question mark because I was here doing this and I don't remember us allowing that because I knew there was a lot of concern over it.
You didn't.
There
You
was-
had it back in at council.
We did
There was a
not.
lot of support for roosters at council.
Yes.
I love roosters. Okay, so anyway, could we just take a look at the keeping that in? I know it's from the current, but could we just take a look at it because it just seems out of place when you butt this up against the other sections. And if we are going to leave it in, do we need to then add something that's consistent in dogs or the animal?
Cats.
Yeah, all of the other places. It just seems really out of place. It's not consistent because if your lot allows it by use by right, like what's the matter with the size? I guess I don't understand the importance of the 2,500.
As long as it fits on
we
the
can
lot.
s-
Exactly, if it fits on the lot, like.
Understood. I think, one thing I would want to do is maybe go back and either read the minutes or listen to the hearings and find out, because there was quite a bit of discussion around that particular minimum lot size because of concerns of compatibility with someone with a chicken coop. And certainly, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that was in those hearings or who have fowl at their homes right now. But I remember that being a kind of a big deal.
The other question I had, since we're on animals, I'm just gonna ask it right now, on fall rather, is the placement of that can be in the setbacks, but how does that relate when you put up an enclosure and a 6 or 8 foot fence, whatever it is, and you're on a corner? Do you have to have the 15-foot setback in
Clear
post?
vision.
Clear vision?
Makes sense.
I would say that, yeah, it would, if you're on a corner, you would still have to comply with the clear vision, like the sight triangle requirements.
Right. Well, I
Um,
didn't see that mentioned in
yeah.
here anywhere, so that's what I was bringing up. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Amanda, you wanna go, keep going?
Yeah, my next one was outdoor food vendor park court. Item number, so this is again on page 13 of anyone in the packet. So obviously, vendor park court, there's multiple, food vendors or whatnot, small, medium, large. Number 3, it says cannot provide drive-through up service for automobiles. And I'm just wondering if, I mean, because these type of areas, outdoor, and even indoors, are becoming more and more popular, and the innovation that they provide, I feel like is well worth, they're providing a service. Are we limiting those type of places by adding that, or what was the thought process between not allowing a drive-through up service in that space, for that type of vendor park court? I'm just wondering from staff, like from your perspective, like Scott, Matt, staff's perspective, like why we have that in there.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that's a great question. From my perspective, and I haven't seen a lot of these. I mean, I've seen a few around Colorado. My understanding of a kind of a mobile vendor or park, whatever you want to call it, is there's kind of food trucks located on a piece of property, and people get out and kind of get out of their vehicle and go into and get their food, and there's tables and stuff like that for them to sit at. I think there's complexities with having kind of drive up service for vehicles. That said, if you can figure that out, I don't know necessarily why it would need to be prohibited. I think, at least from my perspective, the idea behind that restriction was just based on kind of my understanding of how these sorts of uses operate.
I mean, I feel like if and this is just my own personal opinion, like we have requirements for lots and properties, and we discussed all of that last week of line of sight, things like that. So if they can meet all of those requirements, and do a drive-through, then I don't want to specifically exclude it. And the reason, and hear me out, is like I've been, Boulder has one it's a very old one, and during COVID, like they did have a drive-through service. I haven't been since then, so I don't know if it's still in place, but they had a drive-through lane where the vendor could then come deliver the food. And so it just feels like we may be limiting the capability, and I just, that makes me nervous. So that's it on that one.
I think it's something we could certainly look into, Amanda.
Okay.
I agree with Matt. I think just generally a food court is, a place where you're on foot and you're walking up to these places. There might be a courtyard in between with benches and things like that. Those are the type of food courts I've been to. It's not a drive-in, drive-through, but and the other thing, to your point, during COVID, we did emergency ordinances to relax some of our code requirements and safety requirements just because of that. So that's another alternative, is if we had to cross that bridge again, hopefully we don't. We could do that in an emergency ordinance situation.
Yeah.
Relax
And again,
the standard.
We're putting a limitation on something that's a pretty awesome product. And so if somebody wants to do something with allowing for a drive-through lane, I wouldn't want to limit them on their property, their private property, especially since we discussed all of those line of sights, the corners, the lane. We discussed all that last week, or August 13th. And so
Yeah.
that was just my,
All right.
Hold on.
that's
Jeff,
it for
do
me.
you have anything on that? Do you have anything on the food courts?
Yes. What about bathroom facilities or anything like that at a food court? Should we require it?
I think that's a great question. My suggestion would be yes. And that may be a general standard that we have, that all uses have to somehow demonstrate that they have adequate water, sewer access, all the sort of nuts and bolts of making any sort of use or development work. But I think that's a great point. And I think it could be problematic if you had a food court or an outdoor food court that there's no restrooms for.
Usually there are porta potties, but that's, that qualifies.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think requiring, city water and city sewer is the intention of what we're trying to promote for a food court. It seems more like you're promoting it in a place that does not necessarily have those things, and all of the vendors that are there are self-contained. They're not putting things in the sewer, and putting porta johns around there would be sufficient, in my opinion.
So since we're going this by Amanda's question, I'm gonna give a couple too. My concerns were the 15-foot clear vision, if it's on a corner lot, for instance, like the weed ram. And adding drive-through on something like that creates an issue because you have to have the CDOT access and enter an access to be able to do it. And if it works, it works. But that's something you'd have to figure out. Same thing with bathrooms. The only ones I'm really familiar with were the little ones where there's like one on a lot, and Buena Vista has some marvelous ones.
Yeah.
Their ice cream parlor one is great because it's a little thing, and then they have this marvelous yard that's all mildly landscaped and got some flower pots around and different areas where people can separate to sit and eat their ice cream. And it's really quite charming. So I think that's something we just have to think about, how those things would work, because you don't know that you're going to get one lot that's going to have three, like one of the pictures, was that in here or last night?
It was in there.
Yeah, it's in here. It's not necessarily good. That's a pretty big lot for this town to be able to put 4 food trucks and 2 tables on. Just would have to be approached at the time that you get the offer to do it, I guess. Michael?
Yeah, I had some comments. As far as the drive-through goes, like Amanda was saying, if you have a 50-foot lot, if you can actually access it legally with CDOT or whatever, if you have an empty lot, I don't have it. If you have an empty lot that's got a CDOT access that you can get in, which is different than the DRAM, then I don't have an issue with the drive-through. I think the porta toilets are a good idea, but I do think in regards to the movable elements, and Lynn is right on with the clear vision, obviously goes anywhere. But I think in number 4, in regards to movable elements of an outdoor food vendor, and it's just something I just want to know what everybody else thinks. But do we think that especially if they're in setbacks besides the clear vision, does anybody, I think it might be a good idea to have some type of time frame in regards to how long they can stay there, but without moving at all, but that might just be my opinion. So I'm just throwing that out there, Matt, and then we can, and then go ahead, Eric.
Do we wind up opening a can of worms with that being allowed to do in the setbacks for other things?
Like what? People can already put tables and chairs in setbacks.
If someone's building
But
next
if it's
door
a
to
truck,
it,
well, you can put it, I guess, you can put a car.
I think that we
I'm
should,
just asking.
no, I think that we should probably have somewhere that we can ask it to be moved for certain reasons. Like if someone's building something right next to it, well, somebody can't, if you have a 5-foot setback, it's pretty hard. It's not hard, it's challenging to excavate.
It's less than that table.
To excavate with something right next to you, but it's definitely doable. Which I have a point on that on something else, but we're gonna stick focused on this. So maybe, unless the town requires it to be moved, or potentially we need money for everything, so potentially an application with a fee that gets renewed every 3 months instead of a year, depending on how you're doing. Something along those lines is my thoughts.
Well, the only other thing that I would think about is, and Madison's correct, you can put tables and chairs, they're easily movable, a car may not be so much. But how does the fire department look at something like that? Because if you've got 3 or 4 trucks on a lot and they go home at night and those trucks are there and the fire starts, can they get in there if they're in the setbacks? That would be a fire question.
That's good.
So I looking at this language, I think we need to clarify what movable elements are, because somebody could definitely make the argument that my food truck is movable, so I can park that anywhere. That wasn't the intent. The intent was tables, chairs, things like that could be kind of placed anywhere on a property. So I definitely think some clarification is necessary here.
Eric, do you have anything on that?
No, food trucks, no.
No?
The only other thing I would also add is that, I don't know, I mean, because they're all gonna have to have their own licensing for, so do we need, I think that, is that covered by another area in there?
Chapter 7,
Thank you, okay.
Chapter 6.
or chapter 6, sorry. One of them's, I think it's chapter 6, article 7 or something like that.
Okay, thanks.
Jeff? You have nothing else on tonight whatsoever?
Oh, wait, no, I have more.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, you got the floor, girl. Let's go through
I mean,
it.
I'll keep going. I mean, I have a couple other. So outdoor storage accessory to a non-residential use. So the question I had is around number 1, where it says size. And it says that size shall not cover an area larger than the principal building or structure on the property. So, 1, do we make the proper, like, do we make the owner assign their principal building? Or like, it just seems a little weird, like, why wouldn't they just, like, if they're gonna build a bigger accessory outdoor storage, then why wouldn't they just assign that as their principal building? I just don't understand, like, why.
The principal building is always the biggest one.
Yeah, so why do we need a thing that says that? I mean, we're saying that they can't build another one that's
14.
bigger than the other, but they could if it's still within impervious coverage, and then they just assign that new one the principal building.
No, the storage
So-
area is the building.
Yeah,
It's just
The outside,
it's just a storage area.
yeah. So envision a building with a fenced-in area behind it or to the side.
Okay.
It's not a building. It's just an area and you allow a fence around it.
Matt, did this particular standard come from the model code, the state model code?
I think so. I mean, so the idea is with the size, I mean, the intent and this language may need some modification, but the intent is to limit, if it's an accessory outdoor storage area, the intent is to keep the size of it limited to ensure that it is accessory. And you don't end up with a massive outdoor storage area in addition to whatever else is going on the property. So that's kind of where that 50% of the principal building came from. I mean, it does say 50% of the principal building or structure or the total area of the property, whichever is greater. I would think in most cases it would be, you would take 50% of the total area of the property to get the largest outdoor storage area. And I don't know if that was the intent or not. So I don't know if that helps explain.
No, I feel like this whole section, maybe I'm just confused on as I'm sitting here chit-chatting with, because like, because I hear you that it says it's like outdoor storage, but then we have design screening requirements that says it has to be on concrete, asphalt, or durable weather. Then it also has to have opaque fencing or berm or combination, so opaque fencing or walls too, a wall, so you could also have walls. So it just like feels like it's almost a structure. It's not really just outdoor storage. I'm maybe the staff will relook at this section. It was and confusing to me, and that was it.
What parts of it do you specifically? I mean, I think the size requirement is something that we need to look at. there other, like the design requirements, are those?
Yeah, like why would we, if it's supposed to be like just an outdoor storage, why would we force them to have concrete, asphalt, or durable all-weather surfacing material?
The intent behind that specific requirement is to avoid having an area that's just dirt where they're storing stuff. Like, I mean, the best thing I can think of is like maybe a plumbing business where they have pipes and stuff stored behind their business. So the idea is to have a storage area that has, maybe it has a gravel surface, asphalt, concrete, something that's not going to turn into a mud pit, if that makes sense.
I get it, but then it just feels like it's more of a permanent structure when you start making those requirements, and then you have principal versus non-principal. So maybe add something that the principal building has a roof on it. I don't know. Like,
Well, we have a definition. Sorry, Amanda, go ahead.
yeah, no. But anyway, this section, it just seemed like there was conflicting requirements in it. And then I think the only other question was the solar energy, which is page 15, with height may exceed applicable maximum building height by no more than. I don't feel like until we know that number that I don't feel comfortable with that area, that section, until we know the details on it. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Jeff? Yeah.
Can I address that last comment, please?
On storage units. Oh,
Storage.
yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, real quick. So we did obviously talk as staff when we were crafting this and discussing it and going through it. I did take a look briefly today at some other standards from other jurisdictions. I think the typical height above the maximum building height, I think, is like 5 feet, but we can continue to research that. We need to be careful that we're not inadvertently over-regulating solar, because I think the state generally wants HOAs and towns and counties to allow solar. So I think we do have the ability to regulate some of the design aspects of it. But I hear what you're saying. We will come back with a recommendation on that height.
Nothing on storage, nothing on solar.
Okay, on storage, it says non-residential units, so this is not something that can happen on a property with just a house. This would have to be a commercial issue.
Yes, that's correct.
And that, I don't see where it's stating that anywhere.
So that would be addressed in the definitions where we would define what outdoor storage accessory to a non-residential use would be, but essentially that means a business, anything that's not a home. It wouldn't be accessory to apartments, a house, duplex, things like that.
Okay, but it will be addressed in the definitions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
Are we just sticking to some things? You want
Yeah, we're gonna finish Matt.
We're gonna
We're
finish.
gonna do Amanda's things.
Okay.
She started them. If there's something on those, then we're wiping it
Yes,
all out. at
yes,
once.
as far as outdoor storage, you know, it definitely says that it's non-residential. Because if it was residential, I would say that we currently have shed sizes that we would restrict it to a shed size. It's also that Amanda said potentially, and I understand, you know, that if you're pouring a concrete slab, okay, but as far as if you're putting a roof over it, maybe we should think about whether that requires, I don't know, in regards to that. I think if you're putting a roof over it, it definitely would have to be included in the lot coverage with the size of the building, and if the building was less than its potential lot size, then it would be okay for them to put a roof over it if it was designated for storage and
Like a pole roof,
a pole barn or something.
pole barn.
You know, but Yeah, I think that definitely needs to be sorted out, that it has to still comply with code, and I think that it's gotta count towards your overall lot coverage, for sure. You know, the concrete starts making them a little more permanent, but like, if you got a big commercial parcel and you need storage for your plumbing supplies or whatever it is, and you wanna keep it dry, it makes sense to have something to keep it there, but it can't be like completely enclosed and comply with setbacks. Okay, and we'll get back to Daryl in a minute. Then as far as, what else did the man talk about? Solar, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as solar goes, we're talking about solar like being in someone's yard. I don't think that that's definitely not a good idea, not in a residential. Not, especially, I don't think you want big, like 8-foot high solar panels. And then as far as a roof, if they're on your roof, because I know that solar is important, and you know, for people that, I'm gonna wait 10 years till it gets more advanced, but if you like solar, most importantly on solar, of course, if you mount it flat to the roof, your roof's gonna leak, you're never gonna get it. And I see solar all the time that's completely covered in snow, so it only works for the tax credits that people were getting for solar, because half of it doesn't even work in the wintertime. But that being said, having it kicked up, the snow slides off of it, and it actually functions on a roof better if it's kicked up and you can get underneath it. So instead of just screwing it through the roof to where it doesn't work, but it needs to be, if it's on the roof, it needs to be kicked up to, you know, a certain maximum point. Potentially, I was thinking 5 feet was a good number, but we should figure out the height if it's on a roof, how far up it can be kicked up if it's on a roof, because it's better to have the bottom up off the roof, you know, at least a foot minimum, and then you're gonna wanna hit an angle to catch the sun. But you know, having big 8-foot solar panels up are a little extreme. So maybe we can figure out that height a little bit more, Matt, and then I don't, you know, me personally, I'm not quite sure, you know, looking, I know where the sun hits, so it doesn't really affect me, but it definitely affects other people, and I'm not quite sure if you wanna look out and see 10-foot panels in your neighbor's yard, especially in a residential, even a mix, in most of town. You know, down at the Minturn Business Park, you know, other locations, you know, potentially. I think it's as far as it having big panels in your yard, I'm not quite sure that fits in a lot of our zone areas. So we should probably discuss, if they're in the yard, what zone areas we're thinking about.
It says here, location is permitted in side or rear yard only. There again, how does that
15
relate
feet
to?
though, Lee.
But
It says
it's allowing
15
15 feet. The highest fence is 8 feet,
15
The
feet.
highest fence is 6 feet, isn't it?
Yeah.
6 feet. So this is
Yes.
over double.
Oh, no, I agree with that. And what I'm saying is if it's in the side yard and you have a 5-foot setback, in that area, there's no room to fight a fire again.
Yeah, I totally agree.
No, we need to maintain our 5-foot setbacks.
And this, putting things into side setbacks and into rear yard setbacks, if you got room on the property excluding your setback, that's one thing. You know,
I'm sorry, Lynn.
if you have, you know, you're 10 foot from the fence, and then you still have 20 feet in your yard, you want to put it in the 20 feet, but you've got to leave that room open so people can get in there and fight fires. And then, if any of you did not see the paper today, Minturn is in there about the shooting range and about fire. This is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. I know my insurance company has already told me that they're already starting to cancel policies in the 81645 zip code. That's us.
Oh, yeah.
As well as when I was laid up, I read the council packet, there was a big Firewise, multiple pages of Firewise stuff in their packet, and I think that we should look at that Firewise stuff, Matt, when we're putting this new code together and make sure we're taking recommendations from that Firewise thing. And unless it's a certain area, I think that I personally think we should just depending on whether people want it in their zone district and whatever other people think, I think that we should just eliminate these ones on the ground at this point, figure out our height for the ones on the roof.
Can I jump in real quick?
Eric?
What was that? I didn't hear.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Yes.
I didn't hear you either.
So the first thing is we do have a standard under location that says that they have to meet the dimensional limitations, i.e. setbacks. So that's one thing. The second thing I would say is when I went through this before today's meeting, I made a note under design requirements to add something that says it must comply with local fire and building codes, such as ensuring a 36-inch pathway for firefighters. That's just some language that I saw in another jurisdiction's code. So those are definitely things we can look at. The last thing I want to say is, as we go forward and we present the final, the use table with all the districts and all the allowed uses, all the limited review uses, conditional uses, we can certainly talk more about regulating ground mounted, but I also, between now and then, will make sure we're staying on the right side of the law. And I don't think we have a lot of latitude to block people from installing solar. We can regulate the design of solar, where it goes on a lot and things like that, but that's something I want to be really careful about. And we can certainly talk with the town attorney about that.
I think that's a good idea. I think that height is, even if you have it, I think it's really hard to have it higher than a fence. And I think that since we currently, unless we sort it all out at a different point, I think since we currently have 5-foot side setbacks, that we should not change ground mounted or ground mounted. And I think that I personally think we should keep it at 5 feet until we decide that we're changing.
Did I see ground mounted solar over on Taylor Street?
In the back.
Yeah, that's the only place I've seen it. That's less than 5 feet or around 5 feet. I don't think it's any higher.
It's been a while since I looked at the plans. That was 2 years ago.
Madison and I
I
rolled
can't
down
see
Taylor Street.
I'm not.
I was on the commission when those were approved. Remember that?
It's the duplex, Carl Kruger's duplex.
Carl's, yeah.
Okay, anybody else have anything on that?
I think for solar, real fast, I think for ground mounted, I think if we're putting, we're discouraging it, or if you don't want it, I just think as time goes on and technology gets better, I think ground mounted might be less evasive than what you think it is. And I think that if we're trying to I don't think we should discourage any of this, because I don't know how long these are going to be in place, but as the years pass and technology gets better from other countries in our country or whatever, but I just think they're just going to be way more discreet, and I think it's just going to be more valuable for us not to.
But this is allowing up to 15 feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's higher than an average fence.
I understand.
I disagree with that.
So here's, I think, what Eric's saying is that the technology could
Change.
it could
Correct.
reduce significantly. Like there's already solar panels on that are embedded in like your roof what are they, shingles. And so like you could end up with like a 1 foot by 1 foot square that's a solar panel that's just as strong as these big ones now in the future. So I hear what Eric's saying. Like we don't want to discourage it.
And if we make it to where the code doesn't allow it, then
Yeah, I want it to be allowed in the code. I just want it to be
I think we
Size
should,
of the fence.
I think 6 foot, I think that I think what Scott said, I think we need to talk to our attorney if we can
Yeah, let's
regulate
do
it
that.
to 6 feet. And since our current code is 5 foot, I don't think that we should draft up the new code that says less than 5 foot, because those things are pretty permanent, and you don't wanna run into them.
I think 6 feet is fine, the size of the
No, I'm
height.
talking
of the
about
fence.
6 foot as well as the side setback. Scott said he's got it at 36 inches because of other towns. And I don't think that you want, I think that you want to keep, 5 foot's not a lot. Because a lot of stuff's non-conforming in Minturn, and
Oh, we've been through this 36 with
Real
Daryl.
quick.
Michael, I was not suggesting that we replace our 5 foot or 10 foot side or rear yard setbacks with a 3 foot. I think what that reference was to is in between panels. If you had multiple panels on multiple pedestals, allowing at least a 3 foot berth between those panels for firefighters.
that,
Not
I like,
necessarily in the setbacks. The setbacks would be the setbacks.
that makes a 3 foot in between, no, whatever, if we're gonna allow them,
So you have your 5 foot setback, but the way they were spread out would be 3 feet between.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah,
Yep.
that makes, thank you, Scott.
Okay.
That makes sense. We'll talk to Mike if we can bring it down to at least match the fence height and then like, as well as like Amanda said, hopefully in 5 years, or in the next whatever years, hopefully your little 6 foot panel can produce as much. It's gonna happen.
What's gonna happen?
Can
It's gonna
produce as much as a 12 foot panels. I see 12 foot panels on the mountain all the time. Those things are big. You see big solar arrays, 12 foot panels, they're big, you know. Now, if they were out in some of the unbuildable area by Malloy Park, you can line that place up. You know, I think that's a great spot. Just on all that dead area, line them up out there.
Amanda,
I'm good. I don't have any more.
you're no
That was it.
more. Jeff, you have nothing. Daryl, do you have any others that we have not covered?
Yes.
Go for it.
In reference to the animal hospital stuff, number 2, design requirements. B, where we're saying direct discharge of system fluids to surface water sewer systems and stormwater systems. It gives example, you know, you gotta get a permit by the appropriate authorities. You give an example, the town, the state, etc. Could you put in there before the et cetera, the sewer district? Because they definitely are impacted what you throw in the sewer systems. Both with the B and also the abandoned system, the same way, include the sewer district as one that has, you gotta contact.
Okay, we can do that. And just to clarify, that's under geothermal loop or direct use. That's not under the animal hospital standards.
It's up here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Yes, you're correct. You want else on that one? Okay, the
If
next,
it's something we haven't met, we can do it. Let's open it up and get everybody's opinion. It's working well.
under the hydroelectric energy device accessory, number 4, compliance with town, county, state, federal requirements. We're talking about the device must be complied with all appropriate town, county, state, and federal. Should we also include other holders of water rights? Because they're affected by whatever is happening on that water.
So my limited understanding of water rights would be that I think you'd have to potentially get a permit through the state of Colorado through the Division of Water Resources, and they would, through that process, ensure that you're not adversely impacting other water right holders. You may have a senior water right or so I mean we can put that in there. I think that would be addressed through the state. I don't know at the town level.
No, no, it wouldn't be addressed with the town or county level, it would be state, as long as we know that the state does it.
Isn't it coming with water rights though? It's not taking any water away. It's still the same flow of water. So it's, you're not taking anybody's water.
Right, but anything that affects the flow of the water,
Okay.
and quality, yeah.
And quality. Okay.
So, also in that same section, number 6, same thing. If the state is talking to the water, checking with the water rights, then fine, but do we know that if they do that? And that was,
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, we could add a statement in here just because I think Eagle, a lot of this was sort of, we use Eagle County's code as a reference for a lot of these standards. And I think in their code, they say something about even if the state, even if it's addressed at the state level, it wouldn't hurt to have a standard in here that just says the water flow, the quantity and quality of water going through one of these systems can't be negatively impacted or something like that, to just kind of have an additional layer of protection for downstream users.
yeah, that sounds right. Okay, I have another one, and this one, I didn't jump in quick enough when Amanda was talking about fowl, keeping of fowl. I know now on a lot of these coops and what have you, you have your fences going up on the sides and everything, but people are now starting to put, basically screening over the roof, like a roof, to prevent bird droppings, wild bird droppings into the pen because of bird flu. Do we want to have anything like that in there in reference to prevent bird flu from the wild birds flying over and pooping on them?
In addition to the ability of other animals to eat the fowl, which is already in there.
Yeah.
So, could we just make a safety stance statement of both, like, because there's a statement in the fowl section with they can't get eaten. That's so weird. What is it?
What would you put
I don't know.
I mean,
a roof over the run? Because if they have an enclosed structure that they're put into at night, and they're kept in there to be safe from foxes and raccoons, etc.
Mhm.
You have an outside, which is a run that is fenced in.
Mhm.
If you put a roof over it, is that really, the idea is to give them the sunshine and let them get
It's more of a screening, what I've seen
a
is
fine
more,
screening?
it's a fine screening,
yeah.
you know, like a net.
Oh, like the netting. Do you use it?
I-
He's got chickens.
Yeah, no, I've seen it where, yeah, I've seen it where they're trying to prevent wild bird.
Yeah,
bird
I
flu.
think that's.
Then you're gonna have to
Predator
clean them, so
and
that's gonna get
disease
interesting.
I think it's going to step too
Okay.
far.
Could you
Okay.
change like number B? I mean, I'm just listening to Daryl. Could you change number B where it says a fowl must be provided with a covered and say predator and disease resistant house?
No.
Come on, disease resistant. I hate that.
No, we can't decide what is disease.
If a
resistant.
bird flies into Minturn that has bird flu, what are you gonna do about it?
Shoot it.
Kill it.
It's not going to affect you.
No, I'm
know.
teasing.
How you gonna know?
I didn't know.
Okay, I'm just bringing
Okay.
that up, if
That's just like-
Since we started this fall thing, it's always been bigger than other issues. It's amazing.
Yes, it's amazing. 3 people.
Just
taking
amazing.
that's all I have.
Okay. Going back to birds though,
Oh, here we go.
since that's all he has, wind energy facility. Matt, are there studies done on how that affects wildlife, like birds?
The sort of personal wind turbines, I do not know. We didn't get into any research on whether or not anybody studied the potential impacts on wildlife.
It was, you know, it's like birds flying into airplane windows. I was just wondering if there's been any studies done on the damage that can cause. It's not gonna go away. People are still gonna use them, but was my question. And I'm just going through in case I have anything else. But I don't. And I thank you for getting us the Colorado State statute on the nuisance.
You're welcome.
Michael, do you have anything else?
I only have one thing in regards to the geothermal loop or direct use, the location where it's allowed and it can encroach into an easement with written permission from the easement holders. I think that, you know, obviously if, you know, I don't know if we want to have a max limit or if they can go right to the property line, but obviously if it's the person's, if the neighbor signs off that they allow it, then when they resell their house, they're gonna have to divulge that information. And I just think that if something's gonna go into a easement with written permission from the easement holders, I think we might want to consider requiring a final plat on that property if they're going to go geothermal in the ground into the easement, because you want to make darn sure that it's at least on the neighbor's property when they sell it, because Minturn lots vary in regards to where they actually are. And, you know, I like my pins. Town required me to have pins. Best thing I have is pins. People measure off of them. And I think that if we're going, you know, geothermal into the easement, whether it's right up to the line or whatever it is, if we think it's a good idea to go right up to the line, that we should require a plat. What do you think, Scott? No? What the hell?
Well, I would like to draw attention to the standard that we talked about in another one that says we have to comply with dimensional standards, so we're not allowing them to go into setbacks. An easement is not a setback.
Just to clarify, Madison, that is true, but that only applies to above ground components of a geothermal system. For if they're underground components, what the language says is it can encroach into setbacks and be anywhere on a person's property. But it also says the geothermal system has to be located on the same lot as more or less the building that it's designed to serve. So that means it could not be located on a neighboring property. The language regarding easements would be if you had say Excel had a easement for a power line that crossed your property, you could have your geothermal system encroach into that easement on your property if the Excel gave you written permission to do so. So it's not, this isn't intended to allow anybody to locate any part of their geothermal system on somebody else's property or in the town's right of way, things like that.
No, I agree with what you're saying, Matt, and I didn't think it was on top, but, you know, in Minturn, some people think their lots go, and most people don't actually plat and super duper stake their property. So if you see flags on properties, just people that get regular surveys, sometimes those surveys are off a couple of feet, and they are. And sometimes they're off a couple of feet, but if you don't think it's a good idea to require a final plat, and you know, if staff doesn't think so, I think it's a good idea, but.
Well, can I respond real quick? I definitely agree with what you're saying. To have an as-built locate might be an advisable thing. A final plat is a totally different thing. That's a subdivision plat. I don't think that's what you're talking about. You might be talking about an improvement location certificate or something that's less than a plat, but locates the geothermal on the property. I could see that. Or I could see, prior to installing a geothermal, that the application, if we require an application, it has to be based on a current survey. So we know where the property boundaries are. They know where the property boundaries are. So I agree with you. I think that sounds like a very smart idea to protect people from themselves, right? And to avoid conflicts in the future. I don't know, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the same could be said for people who build fences. I know many times they're not always on their property. So I don't object. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with requiring an as-built. I mean, I actually think it would be better, like you said, Scott, to have a survey or a design that somehow demonstrates that the system's going to be located entirely on the individual's property. So
And
I
which
think,
identifies the easements, and therefore we could say, hey, you got an easement here, go get permission.
And Scott, I might, maybe it's just me, which is fine, it's okay. But when I had to do stuff, when I did stuff on my property, I was required, I thought a final plat was the one, like I have one that the mayor signed and everybody and their brothers signed, and the pins are all pinned and all the corners. Is that a final plat or am I wrong?
It may be. I'd be happy to take a look at it. And I also don't know why they would have required a final plat unless you hadn't been previously subdivided or you were moving lot lines or.
I removed an old lot line, so they required the final plat, and then
Yeah.
and we do it now. And like I said, you know, what it's all been a lot of stuff that I was required to do is super beneficial at this point, so I don't have any issue in regards to that. But what you're saying and what you're suggesting is a little less standard than what I have, but if it makes sense to to actually have something.
Right.
What you suggested. So yes. So you don't have to do a final plat. Whatever you two suggested is better than nothing for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Eric.
Okay, so I have animal hospital. When we get to number 2, boarding of animals. Boarding of animals, including overnight stays, is permitted for post-medical care and must be customarily incidental and subordinate. Are we limiting animal hospitals? Like, I know there's not a easy way to have somebody sit your dog. Could they not board animals like as a boarding also? You know, like or is that just a whole nother section that we'd be talking about?
so the idea is, and we can certainly change this if that's the direction that's recommended. The idea is, so there's an animal boarding use that we discussed at the last meeting that's sort of intended to be that doggy daycare or whatever, that overnight boarding for animals. The intent with this language is to say an animal hospital is kind of intended primarily to be a place where you get medical care for your animal. And there may be some overnight stay that's associated, like if your dog had surgery and needs to stay overnight, that's okay. But it's trying to prevent the animal hospital from also serving as the doggy daycare or whatever the right terminology is. But if you guys disagree with that, we can certainly relook at that.
I know the vet in Avon, you can board your animal there also, and it's kind of more convenient.
But it has to be enclosed.
Absolutely.
And the same one, the vet in Eagleville too.
It would have to be enclosed, and you'd have a run, they could go out to do their duty or get some exercise, but you wouldn't have an outdoor with 20 dogs running around and barking.
Yeah, it'd be limited, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, it would just have that.
Yeah.
That's good.
We used to have it here in Minturn, and Steve Warren used to board your dog.
So
Well, they had the animal shelter,
Was he a vet
Humane
also?
Society there, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he owns that business center down there, where Josh is, where the car place is. That was the animal hospital, it had boarding, and when the Humane Society first started their shelter here in Eagle County, that's where it was. That was many, many years ago, and then it moved to Eagle when they built the one down there.
It'd be nice
So-
to have one here.
And it's outside of town, it doesn't affect residential.
Mhm.
You know, if you came up with a place like that, I think people would love it.
Matt, quick question. That use is captured is it only under boarding facility or is it also allowed under veterinary clinic?
So vet clinic, I don't know that we had any standards for a vet clinic, but a vet clinic in my mind, as we've talked about, and again, this is my opinion, so we can certainly change things up if need be, but a vet clinic in my mind is a place where you go, you bring your animal in, it's kind of like going to the dentist's office. You go in, you get your work done, and you leave. There's no overnight stay. It's not like a hospital where you may stay for a couple nights. So that was in my mind what a vet clinic was. It's kind of you go in and you leave. Where an animal hospital, you might be more there might be more comprehensive services available, like surgery and things like that necessitate some overnight stay. And then we have animal boarding, which was intended to capture the doggy daycare or those sorts of facilities where maybe you're going out of town and you need somebody to look after your pet for a couple days. So we have those three categories and that in my mind kind of is how they're distinguished, if that made any sense.
It does. I'm just wondering, from a practical standpoint, if someone came to us and said, well, we'd like to do all three, or we'd like to do 2 out of 3. We'd like to have boarding overnight services as part of our business, and that's going to be, front of house boarding, or maybe boarding's going to be back of house. The animal hospital is going to be the front of the unit or whatever, like however they divide their space and their use. But there's nothing that says that they couldn't have both if they applied for both, if they had to meet any standards or do a limited review or something like that.
Right. So I think that begs a question, and we haven't really talked about this yet, but should multiple principal uses, which is what I would consider an animal boarding facility, animal hospital, vet clinic, should you be able to have multiple principal uses on a property? I think that's the direction. I know in places I work, that's what we've allowed for, especially in non-residential areas, to kind of allow multiple things to occur on a property rather than saying you can only do one thing. So does that make sense? If you allowed multiple principal uses, you could have a facility that is an animal boarding, is an animal hospital, is a vet clinic, is a restaurant, is whatever the multitude of things are that you want to do.
Continuum of care.
Coffee shop.
That's right.
Dogs can get their lunch together.
Yep. I agree with the multiple principal uses.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should just maybe limit that to residential or to commercial. It should be allowed. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion.
I'm waiting for Eric for more.
Are we good with that?
You're all done?
Did you have anything else?
I have one more. I just have for the wind energy facility when it goes for the design requirements. I know we live in Midturn, and I feel like creativity is kind of something that's embraced here. Those design requirements are pretty standard, where everything is just white, off-white, gray, or the manufacturer's default color. I feel like it would encourage people to use more wind energy facilities if we could let them decorate them, or just, I know that sounds silly, but I just think we're discouraging people to use alternative energy.
I don't think color discourages whether or not you use wind service.
I think it would be more embraced. I think people would, oh, that's cool, I think I want one too, and then.
Honestly, Eric, I was just afraid of what Kelly Toon might do to his wind energy
Oh,
system.
thank you, Scott. We have skeletons.
I'm excited to see it, yes.
Lights and
Exactly. But I do agree with you, because then it's not just a white thing people may give it more of a piece of art.
Yeah, I think that wind energy, with what Eric's talking about as far as wind energy, I think that, maybe you've already discussed it, but I think that of course we would need to figure out if we're putting it out there, how high the pole's gonna be, or where it's gonna be mounted, or if it's gonna be mounted on the roof. But in regards to design and painting it, I don't care what you paint it.
I don't either.
I don't either.
So would the recommendation be to get rid of that language that says a non-obtrusive color and just say it must have a non-reflective finish and leave it at that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a height on that by any?
We do.
We do?
No more than.
Yeah, so the proposed height allowances for wind energy, if it's ground mounted, and this was highlighted in yellow actually as a discussion item, it says that it would be allowed to be up to the maximum building height for the applicable zone district. And so that's ground mounted. And then if it's a roof mounted system, it could exceed the maximum building height by no more than 10 feet, which is what is allowed for, I believe, elevator shafts, chapels, steeples, things like, I'm sorry, a steeple, not a chapel. Sort of those architectural elements that are non-habitable that I think the code today allows for some things like that to exceed the maximum building height by up to 10 feet.
Of course, I like roof mounted, but Eric might know the answer to this. Do we have enough wind to where we can make power? Because I heard we didn't have much wind, like in this.
I think the new technology with the oscillating ones, I don't think you need as much wind to push these things as you used to. I just know the technology is catching up, and other countries are using that produce a lot more energy that way.
Oscillating. It's when power
Yeah.
goes to it.
No,
It's not the wind.
No, but it's like a different shape, and it's like instead of what your standard windmill is. I think if you look at this picture right here, you can kind
So
of see.
it's almost like a circling, so they go like this, so they can catch different like.
Oh,
Yeah, like this one.
I have a few dead
Or
birds.
if you walk through like
Birds would be
Custom
fine.
Solaris, all those like.
That is not scientifically proven.
Lynn, I forgot one thing on mine.
We got dead stuff
Okay.
everywhere, sorry.
Sorry
hold on,
guys,
hold
I
on.
forgot.
Eric, are you done?
I forgot one thing.
Okay,
It's
back
underneath.
this way.
It's on page 20, under the definitions, commercial zone. Number C, a tourist-oriented area where hotels, motels, and gasoline stations are located. Are we conflicting because our only gas station in town is now going to be in MU1, which is no longer commercial, it's mixed use?
Maybe.
I would think we are conflicting ourselves with it.
So these are state definitions, right, Matt? You grabbed this. This is not
Yes.
something we're proposing.
Okay.
You were asked to provide the state
Okay.
regs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's correct. I will say that the recommended language, and I know it's not in front of you this evening, it was in the last packet,
I
but
know, but you can.
for noise standards, the recommendation was just to follow the state's noise abatement statute, which is what you have in front of you. So I think that definition of commercial would come into play when trying, if there were enforcement issues, you'd have to say, look at that definition and say, is this a commercial part of Minturn? Does that make sense?
Well, yes, but then you understand the conflict that if we are going to use some of these state definitions, it would.
I think, man, as far as commercial goes, we have commercial from the car wash to the shop and hop.
Now, but none of the
Currently.
new underneath.
But
the new
those are
zone.
still being talked about also.
I know, but underneath the new zones, we just need to make sure that our definitions sync. That's.
I agree with you there.
Yep. Okay. Cool. That was it. Thanks.
You know, make sure everything jives, whatever we figure out.
Is that it? Jeff? Daryl?
Yes. In reference to noise. I have a question on the level that we're proposing here in residential and commercial mainly, during the daytime, not so much during the nighttime. I know it's saying that 55 decibels during the daytime in residential and 60 decibels during the daytime for commercial. 60 is normal speaking level, and I think we should raise that up to 65. Simply because we'll be breaking the law no matter what we do. Just the only thing that wouldn't be breaking the law is an electric car.
Where's the table come from?
This table is in the state statute. This is not ours. This
This
is
is the
not
state.
currently ours. This is the state.
It seems
Seems like,
very low.
seems real nice to me.
Yeah, but why have something that's,
It's already, let's look at it this way, no matter what this says, it's already being broken and nothing's being done about it.
pardon?
Nobody gets tickets for this
Well,
in intern.
Well, then why have
for
it?
instance,
Well, then why increase it?
when I lived in Westvale, I had a neighbor who called the police on a band that was rehearsing in their garage. And they came over with a decibel meter. And the guy was playing the drums, playing the electric guitars, and he put the decibel meter out, and it was under the town of Vale's decibel standard, and he said, there's nothing I can do. And I can tell you, it was a lot higher than that.
We should figure out what Vales is and then discuss it more.
I could, Daryl could attest to this, my dogs bark much louder than that.
Yeah.
And so then if you're gonna put something in there that's not enforceable, and that everyone is gonna break because it's just, that's the way it is, then why have it?
I talk louder than that.
We don't wanna have something that, if people really wanted to call the police,
How do you test a decibel level?
you have an instrument.
Correct, but what can you bring into this room and do, like a radio with a decibel thing and turn it up and down and show?
They could have you could have them, they have them for your phone. You could hold it up to and talk, and it would tell you how many decibels your talking voice is.
Just the app on
You
your
could
phone.
yell, and it would say, here's what your yelling voice, or your singing voice, or your
Daryl
dog
has a
barking,
nice
or
hot
your
rod out.
roostering.
Yeah.
All I know is on
should have
Thursday
a-
nights, in my yard,
Yes.
I can hear the bands over there. And sometimes I can even hear the words. That bothers me. How many blocks away from me is, I'm in the 200, you're in the 1100?
Well, we find out how.
Where the concerts are
Yeah.
at Little Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the concerts at Little Beach aren't supposed to go past 9
No,
o'clock.
well, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. But what I'm saying is, to me, if I can hear it here and it's down there, what is the decibel level?
A lot louder than
Not,
that.
Yes.
not higher than this.
But why, if it's already happening, why do you need to increase this? Why can't you use this as a basis so that it kind of controls things a bit?
It's not controlling nothing right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you put it in
Well, first
writing,
of all, it's
then
not our
then
code.
someone tries to
Not our
enforce it.
We could not have one, and if someone really has an issue, they could call disturbing the peace, but I can hear the concert from my house, and it's quite enjoyable.
Well, that's subjective.
That's
That's
subjective.
Depends on music.
Scott, Scott,
If it's
what
just
do you think? I'm
Can we
questioning
see
whether,
our code?
should we raise it, or why do we
it's
have
up
it
to
if
us to-
we're always violating it?
I appreciate the discussion, and I tend to agree with you. I think, just your point is well taken. An air conditioning unit next to your neighbor or your neighbor's air conditioning unit is going to be at least 60 decibels, right? But we were asked to provide the state statutes because I think in some other discussions we had with regard to some light industrial uses, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt and Madison, but I think we just kind of made reference to we're going to default probably to the state statutes rather than develop our own. I think we have some noise limits and they're pretty basic. It's just 55 decibels, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and 57 p.m. to 7 a.m. We already have those,
That's what
right?
this is
That's, yeah.
for residential.
Yeah, and so we're not as part of this project touching the town's noise standards. But just because it referred or we touched on it as far as potential uses in different districts, if that's one of your recommendations to council as we're adopting new zone districts and approving of uses within those zone districts, that could be one of your recommendations is to revisit the town's noise and nuisance standards.
And you're
Does that
right,
make
Scott,
sense?
that's how it came about.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it came about. It was in the meeting, 2-3 weeks ago? And it was mentioned that we would probably be doing this, and I asked if we could get a copy of it.
and it does make sense what Scott's saying, you know, if you have a huge grinding facility running 24 hours a day, it could be applicable, but what Scott just recommended, I think that I would agree that just leave it alone.
Yeah, I just have a problem with having something in our code that if it's for a use, it's a table, that's something that we're reviewing and we're gonna put into new language that we're approving, and it gives somebody the right to go out there and go, hey, guess what? Your nail gun on your roofer is 85 decibels, so I'm going to the town and I'm gonna make you shut it down because it's over the limit. And if they prove that it's over the limit and it's in writing, then they have a real case. So why put it in writing if it's, I don't agree with, well, we're not enforcing it, so who cares? Like, I don't buy that.
But if you put it in writing and it's 85 decibels and it starts affecting a whole neighborhood of people, then they don't have the right to do anything about it.
But it needs to be within a limit.
So how
that
does
is
it work?
tolerable and not something
Right,
that's
and
not
that's what I'm saying
practical.
is how do we, you may say 85 is fine because you play in bands and that doesn't bother your hearing any.
Oh, my hearing definitely not very good anymore.
Yes, exactly. And the opposite of you, and I'm gonna say this,
I can hear this.
my hearing is that of a 10-year-old child. I have really good hearing. I've been told that by my doctor. And the one thing he told me was if I didn't want it to keep it that way, to start wearing headphones, to start wearing earplugs, etc. So everybody has that right. You have the right to have your music. I have the right to have something quieter for my health or the peace that I came to this town for. So how do we deal with that, Scott?
Scott said we could file, people, if they have an issue, they could file a nuisance complaint, we could deal with it that way. I thought is what he last recommended,
You know, it's like, who said that somebody was complaining about the music across the street from Kirby's? Well, if Kirby's is the one thing that neighborhood and the house directly across the street is being affected by that, I can understand that. It's like once in downtown Minturn, there was somebody playing on the front porch of the house across the street with amplifiers. My front door was open, customers were coming in, and I couldn't talk to them. It was so loud. I had to get a hold of Cindy to go tear it down. So there's gotta be some kind of method of working with it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the
In an
Martinez who lives
individual.
right there
So,
on stage.
real
Quick, so
River from
Correct,
stage.
Tina, yeah.
the existing code has a noise and vibration standard, and it's 60 decibels during the day and 55 at night.
Which is higher than this.
Yes.
Right. So I don't think we're proposing to touch that. That's not part of our purview, really. I mean, it is. I guess we could. It's within chapter 16, but I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time on that. If it's something that you would like the council to give staff direction at some point in the future to revisit, by all means, we can dive in and do research and come up with a better noise and vibration standard and a better way to measure it. And
I think everybody's snowmobiles definitely exceed the decibel limit, you know, and everybody likes
construction site.
snowmobiling in Minnesota.
Construction sites.
I think Jeff's rooster probably exceeds the decibels.
My
Do you have a
rooster,
rooster, Jeff?
my rooster has been assassinated.
Oh, so sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
By-
he was not friendly anymore, so he met his demise by my hand.
How can a rooster not be friendly?
Trust me,
They're
you couldn't even go in there and feed them. He would come back at you,
He was protecting
claws
himself.
up, would take your eyes out.
I would like to point out one thing real quick. So in the version of Article 3 that the Planning Commission reviewed at the last meeting, noise standards is under the general use standards, not use specific. And that's what's being proposed to comply with applicable state statutes. So the way I read this is that we actually are touching our noise and vibration standards in that that's being replaced by this new clause of 3 different things under noise
That
standards.
is how I came up. So we could just say according to the current town standards,
I'll go
which
with
are
that.
higher.
I'll go with that.
So the current town standards, if it's 60 during the day and 55 at night, that's only higher for compared to state statute. It's only higher for residential areas. It's more restrictive for light industrial and industrial areas. The state allows higher decibel levels than the town. And I will know. I mean, I know Minturn is a home rule community. If you guys were statutory, you'd have to comply with these statutes. I think there's some discussion we need to have with the town attorney to better understand if the town can be less restrictive than the state. I know most times, especially in statutory towns, you have to be equal to or more restrictive than what the state requires.
Okay,
Well-
so you're gonna ask the town attorney?
Talk to Michael.
Yeah.
So to Madison's point though, if this is something that we are proposing to adopt and it is replacing or superseding current town code, then I think it's important because it's only a problem when someone makes it a problem.
And that happens.
So if we're gonna put something in writing that gives someone a right to say to their neighbor,
Sure.
you have to be quiet.
Yeah, be quiet.
And if that level or that threshold is something that is not practical, then I don't agree with it.
So we will
I know
confer
practical
with,
is subjective
You want a bunch more phone calls?
area.
If,
We don't want people shutting down
Okay.
construction sites because they're too
Further
loud.
discussion needs to be done.
Yep, agreed.
Thank you.
How many more do you want?
Moving on.
okay,
Next. Planning Department update.
Oh, okay, we're done?
Are we done with Matt?
you go with Matt?
Are we done with Matt? We went through 25. I think we are, aren't we, Scott? We are.
we are.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you. Yep. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, planning department update. So you'll notice in your packet, I have, I think, 3 different applications from 3 different Minturn North homes that requested minor DRBs for changes to approved plans. I think one had to do with landscaping, one had to do with moving some windows, and the other one had to do with adding timber ties on the outside of their house, which I personally think is a really nice addition. So those were minor DRBs, as discussed at the beginning of this whole kind of saga of their things, as long as it's not increasing building height or changing building height or changing impervious or building coverage, things like that, then staff can approve it. So those changes are within your packet.
Thank you, Madison.
Thank you, Madison. Hey, the only one question I had is on the landscaping.
Which one? Sorry.
It's the only landscaping one.
Moving a tree and
31.
removing a wood split fence.
Yes, that one.
So, and this is just a constant conversation. So obviously we just removed a bunch of trees, but when we removed the trees from, and it's based on Firewise, maybe Daryl will know more, but aspens are now considered also can't be within 5 feet of the house of the new Firewise. And so this one, I just want to call that out because it does look like the movement of the trees when it is full grown will be within that 5 foot set. That'll be probably within the 5 feet of the house. I know we haven't adopted Firewise. I know we haven't done any of that, but that's just a heads up. Like, I mean, I've been, again, same thing, like my insurance is like on me, no more pine near the house. So we removed all our pine trees near the house. And I'm expecting they're gonna come back and tell us to remove our aspens too eventually. But that's just a heads up, like
One
it's
point of
moving.
interest on that is wildland firefighters, if they've been instructed, if you are in a trap situation where you cannot escape or something, look for an aspen grove and then lay down in an aspen grove because it is much, much more water there and far less chance of burning.
Interesting. Yeah, no, we were just, I mean, it just looks like this is now within that moved tree is now within that, the 5 foot, just the way the picture looks. And that's just what I just learned that aspens are now included in that 5 foot setback. Which sucks.
Did you get Matt to do your trees?
Oh, did not do my trees.
Did what?
Jeff,
We can talk about this.
we can talk this about this offline.
After hours.
Oh my god.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I enjoyed those 2 days very much.
You're welcome.
Or day.
Okay. Next, anything else in planning department update?
Unless you all have questions.
Managers report, anything? I have a question that doesn't actually, it's not in here, I don't think. And I think I know the answer, but I just want to clarify it. Back when we were doing the crosswalk markings, and we had all the poles and we had all going on, and CDOT said, you know, you gotta do this and you can't do that. And at the last council meeting, they were talking about painting crosswalks. You know about this.
Yep.
That's because it's on our property, our roads, correct?
Yeah,
So it's allowed. It's not allowed on Main Street.
Right, CDOT doesn't control any of our roads.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Okay. Does anybody else have anything on the manager's report?
Nope.
Next is planning commission comments. Anybody? Jeff?
You? No? I would just like to thank Arnold and Isaiah for
I
their
would too.
service. They are no longer with the town,
What?
and I am very proud to have worked with them over the years, and I wish them the best.
I thought that was just a temporary thing.
And I would like to thank them for all the snow removal business. I don't know who I'm gonna call when I have an ice sidewalk this winter. But thanks you guys for everything you always did. You did a great job.
Yeah, I think that we have big problems and I thank them as well, and hopefully we can sort out some plan, but
Be prepared to pay some people to shovel your snow, move some snow.
It's coming.
Yep, that's awesome. Great job.
some contractors are definitely gonna be more expensive.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, wow.
I hired someone to do the front sidewalk. I still do my snow blower on the side and the back last year.
It's clean.
Well,
it's-
But it still doesn't help. It's because of the way the street was put in, and when it doesn't get plowed, the water melts and comes up and covers my sidewalk and turns ties.
The problem is you have to have the license to snowplow in Minturn.
Yes,
So it's
they
very
do.
limited. You can't go to like get somebody from Eagle Vale to come to
No.
Minturn because you have to get the licensing. So it's
Correct.
gonna be so freaking
The
expensive.
guy I have does have a license
That's-
here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Moving on.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, for bringing that up, though. I appreciate it, because I feel the same way, and I'm sure others of us do.
I'm sad to see them go.
Very sorry. I knew them for many, 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 many years. And I
I
thought-
think Arnold was here for 25 years,
Yeah.
or more.
And Isaiah was great with that front end loader on Pine Street. He was amazing.
They knew my dog's names. My dog's name.
Hopefully he doesn't go.
Okay, no other planning commission comments? Okay, September 24th, Amanda, you are not here. I had in the notes.
So that, no, so September 24th, I am here.
You are here.
Just looking at calendar now. Yep, so September 24th, I am here, for sure.
Okay. Everybody else here?
Yes.
Yes. How about October 8th?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I will be here.
Is that break?
No, I'll be in, no, it is not
It is
break.
not break.
It's not break, but I'll be in London, in Amsterdam,
Nice.
in London. So I will not be here.
And you won't be zooming.
I will not be Zooming either.
Jeff, you're here, Daryl, you're here.
Yep.
Michael, you're here.
Yes,
Eric, you're here.
I'm here.
Okay, Madison,
Won't be here.
I will not be here.
25 days.
so are we having a meeting?
I believe you are, yeah.
Okay.
I'll get the packet out before I leave, and then it'll be up to Scott and Cindy to run the meeting.
That'll be scary.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. We miss
You can handle it, Scott.
I think so.
I miss you here, Scott. I was looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, sorry I had to be at
Hi,
home
how are you?
tonight.
Did you say hi to the new Michael?
Yeah, I can't see him.
It's
He's
not
like
bad.
this small.
It looks great. Okay, with that, anybody got a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion by Michael, second by Daryl, all in favor?
Aye.
You did good.
So are they
Good
gonna
night.
do anything and lift the licensing for the plows in town?